Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Liv. Today we're going to look at a news report that exposes a massive welfare fraud operation in Minnesota. Rob Schmitt from Newsmax calls it a serious, complex scam involving people who came to the U.S. as refugees and then learned how to exploit the system even further. I want to be clear, we're not watching this clip to attack refugees or immigrants. We're watching it to help educate ourselves because this affects every American taxpayer, especially working families who are struggling to afford food, rent, and basic necessities. When billions are stolen from programs meant to help people in need, it harms our communities the most. So let's take a look at this story together and then we'll talk about how this fits into a much bigger picture. Here is Rob Schmidt's report.
This next story should be a wake-up call to all Americans. However, over the weekend, the president calling Minnesota a hub of fraudulent activity and ending protected status for Somalis living in Minnesota after a new study by independent journalist Chris Rufo exposed a spectacular Somali fraud ring stealing millions and tens of millions of dollars from Medicaid and sending that money back to the motherland to support their friends, their families, or to just outright fund terrorism in a very dangerous Islamic country.
Let me pause here because I want to speak to what he just said. I do agree this should be a wake up call for all Americans, and it's time for Americans to start responding like they truly love our country. Our ancestors loved this land enough to put their lives on the line for it from the very beginning. Through their labor, their suffering, and their faith, they claimed a place here that no one can erase. This nation was sealed by God's hand in his covenant over our people. It's part of the story. So I encourage you to stand in that truth. This is a part of your inheritance, not just through American law, but through God's will. It is your birthright. And more Americans are waking up to that reality, remembering who they are, and we will reclaim our rightful name as Americans. And because of that, we have to recognize these traps. Let me read the statement Rob referred to, and then I'll explain what I mean by being aware of these traps by highlighting a part of President Trump's statement as an example. President Trump posted, I am, as President of the United States, hereby terminating effective immediately the temporary protection status TPS program for Somalis in Minnesota. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from. When some Americans hear President Trump say things like, send them back to where they came from, they instantly react with pain or anger. That reaction comes from trauma, and people know how to use that to target a particular group of Americans. They play on our emotions so that we won't see what's truly happening in this country or who is taking advantage of us and our resources. But here is what we have to understand. Politicians and media who benefit from division know that history triggers us emotionally. They use it as a psychological weapon. They don't share our history, they have not lived our pain, yet they manipulate it to control how we think, how we vote, and who we attack. For decades, the Democratic establishment has used the label racist as a political weapon. They use it to shame, silence, and destroy any opponent who won't bow down to them. And when that label no longer works, especially on someone like Trump and many Native Black Americans who agree and support President Trump, they panic because the strategy they've depended on for so long is losing its power. Let's be clear. I am aware and fully understand both political parties have made mistakes, caused severe damage, and neither is perfect. But historically, it was the Democratic Party that built, defended, and benefited from chattel slavery, segregation, and the Confederate system. Republicans, for all their flaws and complicity, were not founded on chattel slavery nor rooted in the ideology that Black Americans should be property. So when we hear something that emotionally triggers us, we have to stop and ask, am I reacting to the present or to generational trauma? And who benefits from keeping me emotional instead of thinking clearly? Our ancestors did not survive their suffering so we could let others exploit that history for their own political gain. We must protect the truth of our story, which is our treasure, and stop letting others weaponize it against us. Now, Rob Schmitt reports that millions of taxpayer dollars meant to children with autism in Minnesota may have been stolen or misused. Let's take a look at what he shared.
Terrorism in a very dangerous Islamic country. The money stolen was designated to help the autistic children in the state of Minnesota, where federal funding had to increase from 3 million to nearly 400 million in just 5 years, in large part because of this scam. Hundreds of millions of dollars. The number of autism providers in Minnesota went from 41 to 326, in large part because of this scam. Claims that 1 in 16 Somalian 4-year-olds had been diagnosed with autism, a rate that would have been more than triple the average.
I wanted to do some research on my own to verify the claim that was made. Here is the key findings from what I discovered. According to U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota, a Somali American woman named Asha Hassan, sorry if I'm saying that name wrong, has been charged with defrauding the state's early incentive developmental and behavioral intervention autism program of $14 million. Prosecutors say she recruited Somali families, even helping children get false autism diagnoses so that she could submit fraudulent Medicaid claims. As part of the scheme, she allegedly paid parents monthly kickbacks between 300 and 1500 per child, depending on the label of services the state had authorized. The increase in autism claims in Medicaid in Minnesota has been extraordinary, from 3 million in 2018 to 389 million in 2023, according to investigative reports. Investigators say this isn't an isolated case. It's part of a larger network of fraud that also includes scams involving food aid and housing, allegedly funneling money out of state or even overseas. The Minnesota Department of Human Services is now pushing for stronger oversight. They've proposed tighter licensing for autism providers, more fraud detection, and stricter payment rules. This isn't just a story on the news. These are real reports of millions of dollars meant to help children being stolen, misused, and abused. And as Rob Schmidt points out, it's a problem that needs to be addressed urgently. And let this be known, these are not Black Americans. These are Somali American immigrants, recent arrivals from Somalia. And it's important that we do not allow ourselves to be lumped together as if we are the same. Black Americans whose lineage is rooted here are native to this land. Our ancestors built this country, suffered for it, and died on its soil. That history gives us a unique inheritance in America, one that is both lawful and moral. When other groups come here and simply call themselves Black Americans, Black women, or men, it may seem harmless, but it becomes dangerous when that identity gets used to attach themselves to our heritage, our struggles, and our birthright. It blurs the line between those who built this nation and those who just arrived to benefit from it. I want to be clear, we don't disrespect Somali immigrants or any Black man or woman who come here from other countries, but they are not native Black Americans, and that distinction is important. We must protect our identity because our history is not a costume that anyone can just put on. It is the foundation of our rights in this country. Here's the rest of the clip with Rob reporting that many Somalis come to our country as refugees, under false pretense and exploited the system for financial gain and sent money back to their home countries.
Than triple the average. This was a seriously complex scam involving a lot of people. It's despicable. These are people that came here as refugees and then figure out how to scam the system even further. A lot of them lied to get into the country, lied about who they had married just to get in. They get here and they start stealing from us and sending it back home. The president responding, get the hell out. Ilhan Omar responding to Trump today.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. Not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
Okay. Yes, non-English speaking Somalians on welfare are the fabric of American society. How have we survived so long without them, I wonder?
You just heard them say with their own mouth that they believe they are the fabric of America, essentially saying that this country belongs to them. In their minds, they carry themselves as if they are Native Americans of this nation, even though history does not reflect that. And this isn't only coming from Somali immigrants. We hear the same language from many groups, including Hispanics and Latin immigrants who claim ownership over a country that their ancestors did not build. I want you to pay attention to something very specific. Almost every group that speaks this way comes through the Democratic Party. It's not an accident. You will rarely hear immigrants who align with the Republican Party make these claims. But when they come in through the Democratic Party, rise through their politics, or seek citizenship and power through their policies, that's when you start hearing this boldness, claiming our land, our history, and our inheritance. They say this is not about politics, but it's always been political because whoever controls identity controls inheritance. And when they begin to speak as though they are the fabric of this nation, they are speaking as though we, the Native Black Americans whose ancestors built this country, somehow did not survive the struggle, did not establish this nation, and did not bleed into the soil of this land. This country was founded by the blood, labor, and suffering of foundational Black Americans, natives to this land through our ancestors. You cannot erase that. You cannot replace that. And you cannot claim what was never yours to inherit. The only reason anyone feels confident enough to speak like that is because they've been allowed to move through this nation without being challenged, taking ownership of something that has never belonged to them. And that is why it is dangerous when we are all lumped together. And let me say this, it's deeply alarming to see the level of confusion surrounding identity in America today and how that confusion is spreading across the world. This is not of God. We're witnessing a wave of illusion, deception, and outright insanity that has taken on a life of its own. Many Americans are speaking up and calling this out, but when we do, we're labeled as racist and other degrading names for protecting what our ancestors died for. Yet the truth remains those who built the nation have the right to defend it. We are not guests here. We are the foundation and soul of this nation. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, I hope you will support the channel by subscribing, liking this video, or even becoming a channel member. As a member, you'll receive loyalty badges that make it easier for me to identify you in the comments, along with other perks. My loyalty badges and membership packages are inspired by the armor of God. Each badge represents a piece of the armor you pick up along your journey as a loyal supporter. Because remember, when we are speaking the truth, we need to stand strong with the full armor of God. If you feel led to support the channel, I will be so grateful to have you join. Either way, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.